Broads Media.
We could look at so many things that probably annoyed us. Rotations, not utilizing Shake Milton, going to Furkan Korkmaz, DeAndre Jordan starting again, whatever. The list goes on and on. Reality, though, is the Sixers aren't good enough without Joel Embiid. Before the series began, we discussed scenarios that could possibly be where the Sixers snag one in Miami. But how would that go? I know for a fact that we did not lay out there a possibility of them shooting, 17% from three like we saw in game one, and then you respond in game two, 8 of 30 from three. In no way, shape, or form when we discussed maybe stealing one, going back to Philadelphia, 1-1 series lead. Would it be when you don't make your shots? And there's a huge snowball effect that happens when Embiid is no longer on the floor. We could talk about the way that Miami switches with Bam defensively when you're looking at a 1-5 situation. You could talk about the 30-plus points that you're missing per game, and then you already know they lack rebounding. Even with the big man involved, with him out, it's going to be even uglier, even though game one was way worse and way uglier in that department. Turnovers and offensive rebounds. While offensive rebounds definitely timely hurt you, it wasn't the same level as game one. Not that it matters, okay, because game one was such a mess and it was so awful and so pathetic. But my point is pretty clear. When you're the opposing squad and Embiid is not available because he could barely even see. I saw this being thrown around social media. I guess this happened when I went to let my dog outside out back. I swear, that always happens. Whenever I get the text from the fiance, hey, can you let the dogs out while I get ready for bed? I miss something that goes on. And I went back to Twitter afterwards. I saw Austin Krell, who covers the 76ers, tweet out that Chris Haynes reports in-game that yesterday was the first time Embiid was able to use his phone due to the light that was created from the phone itself. Says the Sixers will evaluate Embiid upon the return to Philly and go from there. I mean, that's where we're at with Joel, to the point where he can't even look at technology. He can't even look at his phone due to the light. I have no idea what to expect. We'll find out more information, obviously, as time moves forward. But, look, the Sixers aren't good enough. The Sixers are not good enough. While I don't believe Miami's some stud basketball team, I think they're okay. I think they're a good team. They're not this elite team. They're not this outstanding, unbelievable basketball team. With the healthy Joel Embiid, I think the Sixers take care of business and win the series and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. So as much as I'll take shots at Miami for not being as great as what an Eastern Conference Finals run would look like in theory from a broad sense, once you look at the context, they're basically almost getting a bye involved in this second round, which is insanity. But they're deep enough and they're good enough to beat you when your heart and soul can't play. I love what Maxey's doing, energy-wise and fight-wise. Tobias Harris, same thing. With James Harden, he wasn't putrid. He had spurts. You can pound the table that he's not taking over games and winning you a bunch of basketball games, but that's long and gone for me. That ship sailed for me a while back when I realized what he was. He's not capable of doing it. So the team played hard, and you could hear it in Doc Rivers' tone after the game. It's a tough spot to be in if you're DeAndre, if you're Paul Reed. It's really hard. These guys are doing everything they can out there. Well, he's not wrong. That's what this is. It's your players doing everything they possibly can. So I hated seeing Furkan Korkmaz. I can't believe you don't give Shake Milton a chance. He might not be a great player, but he's way better than Furkan Korkmaz, and that's saying a lot because Shake has his downs. At one point, I saw a lineup on the floor, And I wrote it down just so I wouldn't forget. I had to point out how much of an abomination it was. Maxey, Korkmaz, Matisse, Tobias, and Paul Reed. Matisse Thybulle, I disagree with that. He's like, oh yeah, Matisse Thybulle, I thought he did great. Matisse Thybulle stunk. 21 minutes out there. What the hell did Matisse Thybulle do? Seriously. Matisse Thybulle is a waste of space right now, all because he took himself out of the series. But Niang, and how many minutes is he fouling out of the game? It's like we're pulling teeth trying to get him to make a damn shot. Danny Green goes 1 for 9. 1 for 9 from deep. So when your defense, when you're, strategically looking at the way you're going to play defensively without Joel Embiid, and you look at the 76ers, I mean, come on. There's clearly a domino effect from everything. Now the defense is clearly targeting Embiid. Now I'm watching 3 guys basically triple team James Harden up at the top of the perimeter. He slides it to his right, and the Sixers take a 3. It's a big brick. Who's going to win that way? What could they draw up? They're getting open looks. They're not hitting their shots. And there's definitely a correlation with how well they were doing shooting the 3, with the attention locked and loaded on the big man who can will you games and will you to victory multiple times in a series and give you 36 points and give you 30 points and give you 14 rebounds. Which the spacing on the floor changes because you're bringing double teams. We talked about how great the offense looks at times where there's ball movement around the perimeter. You swing the basketball. You find an open guy in Niang. You find an open guy in Danny Green. Those were references of great ball that we saw with the Sixers team. Well, we just can't not factor in the fact that Embiid would be on the low block. He would have their matchup where he wanted it. Here comes help defense. There's a double team coming through the baseline when his back is turned to the basket. So now when you kick out of the double team, look how much more space is there. Well, it's completely different at this point. There's no fear. There's no real fear. Is Maxey fast? Absolutely. But there was never a time where you thought, hold on a second, right? It would be a 10-point lead. Even when they snuck back into it with a tiny run of their own, it's a 10-point lead. Here's Tyler Hero making a shot on the other end and exploding off the bench. Jimmy obviously had his moments in there as well, just being an all-around player. But this isn't really a test for Miami. They should be doing this. What's happening is realistically what should be happening. Now, what they make 6 threes in game 1? Maybe not to that level. But when Miami goes and the fans, the limited fans that are there in the building, make it loud as the Sixers call timeout and the broadcast is heading to commercials, I nod my head in recognition and unfortunately say, damn it, but this is really what makes the most sense. And it sucks the life out of you. I mean, if I'm being honest, and this is just the nature of where this game was, there were times where I was peeking over at the Phillies more than I was at the Sixers. Now, if you're new here, I'm not talking about not having the Sixers game on my big 70-inch, all right? It was on the big screen. But in terms of looking over to TV number 2 and turning up Tom McCarthy a little bit, well, that's how I felt watching that Sixers game today. It was like I was watching a slow, horrific death in terms of Sixers basketball. I was watching them bleed through their body and losing all their blood as I was watching. And, well, hold on a second, bros. When Embiid comes back, that could change the whole series. I don't know. Now I'm hearing that he can't even see light. I mean, we're going to expect this dude who was already playing with one thumb now has a, quote, mild concussion, which, is it even mild? And now he's wearing a Phantom of the Opera mask whenever he does return. Hey, bring us back down 2-0. Now, I mean, he's MVP caliber guy. If there are guys to do it, it's the ones that are at the top of the league. I know there's going to be hiccups. I know there's going to be turnovers that happen because the mask is bothering him. Turnovers that happen for a lack of playing. Matisse Thybulle misses a bit of time. Look how sink he looks. Embiid, I'm telling you, he's way better than Matisse Thybulle, but there's a rhythm involved, and now he's off the floor during an entire playoff series and a playoff run where you're missing some time just in terms of running up and down and being in flow of the game. So he's got that. He's also got the thumb. So there's going to be turnovers. There's going to be issues we don't like. There's going to be some problems. You can't snap your fingers and just expect, all right, Embiid's back. We're golden. I would feel maybe a little bit better about that if you were capable of at least landing one when you touched the ground in South Philadelphia. But realistically, I hated some of Doc's decisions. DeAndre Jordan did better. Hand claps to Paul Reed for not having 6 fouls in 6 minutes. That went to George Niang. That accolade went to Niang today, who apparently is banged up and fighting through some things, which makes a lot of sense. If you want to tie this to JT Realmuto last year, he was a mess, and we were really upset with him. Why were we? Because he wasn't capable of making plays happen at the plate as much as we would like, and turns out he was really hurt. Is Niang really hurt, or is it a combination between what he's dealing with discomfort-wise plus the fact that this dude's slow as hell, and these matchups are killing him in the half-court game, and he's getting picked on, and then when he gets his wide-open looks, it's nothing but iron. Probably a combination of all of it, to be fair. It's just deflating because you were excited about maybe making an Eastern Conference Finals run, and you got robbed of that moment, and now you're just waiting for it to be over. That's how I feel right now. And I'm not someone who gives up and says, they're done, it's over. None of that. Until there's 4 wins on the board. Until Miami wins it. Until the Sixers win it. Until whatever team we're talking about in their respected series has a 4 next to their column and they advance. I can't hide, though, the fact that I'm watching this team give everything they have shorthanded. And everything they have shorthanded seems like they're down double digits all game long.